is Liz Ashley, and welcome to my channel. I took a couple weeks off, so I apologize for that. I've had a lot of personal things happen in my life recently. My life's been a little crazy. I'm now out of town. I also changed my hair. If you're a member, which nobody is yet, but members, if I did have any, knew that I changed my hair. So I want to talk about Cenk basically going on stage with Charlie Kirk. I always call it TPUSA or TP whatever because that's what everyone else calls it. He's been doing like the right-wing podcast rounds lately, and he just started going on some left-wing podcasts because a big criticism that people were coming to him with were like, hey, you're willing to do these rounds on right-wing shows, but you're not willing to do it like with leftists. Like, why is that? And so he went on Marc Lamont Hill's show, and then he also went on Franchesca Fiorentini's show, and I love them both, and I think they both did really great. Let's talk about how Cenk literally sat on stage with Charlie Kirk.
Here was a moment where you were on TPUSA's on Turning Point USA's conference, and Charlie Kirk, who is a Christian nationalist. He's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak.
You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest. We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
You know, it sucks to see TYT fall like this. It's crazy. Like, and it's disappointing. And I think it's important to talk about. But Cenk a couple weeks ago went on TPUSA, Turning Points USA, whatever, with Charlie Kirk.
He's been getting a lot of backlash for his appearance at Turning Point USA's America Fest, where he joined Charlie Kirk on stage. I talked about this 2 nights ago. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. I was confused by it.
Charlie Kirk is a white nationalist, okay? He is. Charlie Kirk is a raging racist. He said that he essentially said that if he was on a plane and if anyone but a white male was the pilot, he would have a problem and he would not want to be on that plane. He literally said that on his podcast. And to sit on a stage with someone who has said something like that and then be like, oh, it's all good, we can have a beer though, is insane to me. It's wild because at one point, and this comes up with his interview with Franchesca, at one point in this interview, in this discussion, Cenk is like, okay, well, let's talk about this. I think that trans people should have, they should have the right to housing. They should have they should have the basic human rights like everybody else. Now, the way Cenk says it is that like half the room, like 30 to 50% or whatever, cheered, and then the rest, well, whatever. No, that is not what happened. Okay, there were a very minimal amount of cheers. A lot of them were boos, and even Charlie Kirk was like, well, Charlie Kirk's response to that was like, well, I don't think housing is a human right. That was Charlie Kirk's response to that. And you're sitting on a stage with him and you're trying to sit here and tell me that you're not grifting, that you're not capitulating to fascism. Give me a break. Which is really funny because the last time he talked to Charlie Kirk, they almost got into a fight. So he went on Marc Lamont Hill's show, and I was really excited when I saw this, and I literally watched it all like that night. There were a lot of points, like especially the one where he's like, you went on stage with someone who said what I said before, that he would be upset if anyone but like a white male was his pilot on a plane. And Marc Lamont Hill's like, how am I supposed to hear and be like, oh yeah, you're a progressive, you're not grifting, whatever, but you're on stage playing nice with someone who said that. How am I supposed to sit here and be like, yeah, no, you're really for the cause? Like, and you barely pushed back. And it's like, this man is a racist. Charlie Kirk is a racist. He is a white nationalist. And to sit here and act like this man is not that, and that you can just go have a beer with him is wild. But Marc Lamont Hill mentioned that, and he was like, I don't understand.
You keep debating the argument about whether or not we should call them white supremacists. Let me stipulate again. I'm not making the case about whether or not we should call them white supremacists. We don't have to engage that part.
You're calling them internally white supremacists and saying, why are you going into a room with white supremacists?
That's the second straw man. My debate isn't whether or not we go in the room. It's how we go in the room, what rooms we go in, and what we do and what we say about the people in that room when we're in the room. To use your description of him, says, not white. We're not going to use the white supremacist language. Because for the purpose of this conversation, it's not that helpful. But certainly he consistently advocates positions that certainly strengthen white supremacy, just based on the things that he has said and done. Would you agree with everything I just said?
Largely. We're having a discussion about what's the best strategy to win people over to our side.
Fair enough. That's fair. I'm saying as a black person being told, hey, you shouldn't call the white supremacists white. I could see if you said, Mark, I don't think he's a white supremacist. I think that's fair ground. But saying, yeah, he does hate black people, but it's not helpful to call him a white supremacist. I'm just telling you.
But even when you say he hates black people, it's more complicated than that. It's
like what you said. I said, are you ostracized at the same point? And you said no, because I'm not like Charlie Kirk. I don't hate white people.
It got a little heated with Marc Hill, but not as heated as it got with Franchesca. And I will say, because Franchesca went off, okay? She did such a good job. And Franchesca was just like really, I feel like she called Cenk out on his bullshit a lot. And I really appreciated that because, she was talking about how like Trump and immigration and how he's planning to deport all these people. And it's like, what's going to happen? They're going to end up in camps because that's what happens. You can't just deport millions of people in one sitting. You have to house them. It's so messed up. And so at one point, Franchesca was talking about that. And she's like, my family's Chinese. Like, there is a history of America going after Chinese people and putting them in camps. There's a history of that. And she's like, I've seen it. She's like, I've seen them talk about it.
Here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You're going to get put in camps. You sound all right.
You think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
It's such an excuse. So stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities. I'm standing in front of vulnerable communities.
No,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered friend.
And Cenk kind of like waved her off. And I was like, oh, you're being absurd. Like, you're being absurd. I got very upset at that point because I'm like, you're just waving her off. Months ago, you were arguing with Anna about if Trump was a fascist. And now you think it's ridiculous when people actually are like, yeah, no, I think he is. And I think he's going to do this. And just got really called him out. And like at one point she even said, she was like, you say like you can sit here and have a beer with him and I should be able to sit here and have a beer with Charlie Kirk. But like, if I was bleeding because I couldn't get the care I needed, like if she was pregnant and she was having a miscarriage and she couldn't get the care she needed and she was bleeding out in her car, Charlie Kirk wouldn't really care if she died or not. He'd be like, oh, that's God's will. And he actually advocates for laws that would allow women to just bleed out in their cars like they have been. Like the many women, especially in Texas, that have been dying. Women have been dying. Like they have literally been dying. And you want us to sit here and have a beer with this man when he doesn't think we should have basic human rights, when he doesn't think that we should have health care, that we shouldn't be able to access health care needed to survive? But you want me to have a beer with him?
I think that one of the biggest issues for me that is not it's not hypothetical. It's very real, which is the right to an abortion. And that is one thing that I think a lot of the so-called right-wing populists don't really give a shit about. They don't care that women are bleeding out from miscarriages and dying, going into septic shock. They don't care that they're being turned away from hospitals, that, yeah, their life or death is dependent on a bureaucracy right now. That seems like a difficult thing to find a so-called middle ground on, and I feel like we're just sort of ending up with this hypothetical discussion rather than talking about the actual people who are dying literally right now as I speak.
So Franny, number one, you can't find a middle ground on everything. So that's why I keep saying thousands of times, when we disagree, we fight. And the good news is...
But I don't want to get a beer with someone who thinks that I should, go into septic shock instead of be attended by a physician.
Yeah, so I know that this is the thought that's breaking a lot of people's minds, but you should.
I'm currently editing this video and realized that half of what I recorded had no sound. So this is my outro. Thank you for watching. Cenk and Anna have been an absolute shit show lately, and I'm probably gonna keep doing updates on them. So stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see that. Turn on post notifications, and then I have something in my teeth. I'm not prepared for it. It's a chia seed. Anyway. I had a banana with chia seeds and almond butter. Anyway, so thank you for watching. I've had a lot of tech issues today. But yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.